People have been talking about bridging the bay for almost 70 years, but it wasn't until the late 1920s that the powers that be finally got together and decided to do something about it. Engineers, politicians, both local and state, stood right here on Rincon Point and looked across a bridgeless bay and made the commitment to build the longest high-level bridge in the world. No one ever doubted the need for a bridge across the bay. By 1930, the ferry boats were carrying 7 million motor vehicles and 60 million people a year. Without a bridge, the bay didn't even look that large. But when all was said and done, those who would bridge the bay were contemplating a bridge that would be 8 1/2 miles long. The question in 1930, though, was not, can we do it, but how do we pay for it? The Depression made financing an iffy proposition, but ironically, a child of the Depression made the financing possible. The Reconstruction Finance Corporation, created by the government for just such a situation, purchased $62 million in revenue bonds. The state kicked in another $13 million, and $75 million was in place to begin the most expensive bridge project in history. Men came from all over the country to work on the Bay Bridge. It was a well-paying, steady job in the darkest days of the Depression, but it was also a chance to work on something special. Even today, workers remember that they knew then they were building a great bridge.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the 7th wonders of the world. To me, it'd be the 8th, because it was open. That's what made me want to do it. I wanted to be part of it. And besides, it was getting good money then. Yeah, $11, only $11 for 8 hours. Now they're getting $30 an hour and do nothing. We had to work.
I've been interested in history all my life, both forward and backward. And it didn't take any magician to know that that bridge was going to be something very special.
Laying the foundation was probably the most difficult task facing the bridge builders. Specially designed compressed air caissons were lowered to the floor of the bay. Dredging would take place through the hollow tubes until they reached solid bedrock. This may have been the most difficult part of the operation, but it was not the most dangerous. Once the foundations were laid, then work could begin on the towers. Men would now be working hundreds of feet above the water, but the raising gangs seemed oblivious to the constant danger. In fact, many seemed to thrive on it. Al Zampa was known as the king of the high steel in his bridge building days. Now 82, he recalls that the only doubts he ever had while working on the Bay Bridge was that it might fall down.
I worked on a lot of bridges and a lot of them others, but nothing like this. This was new to me.
What made it different?
Well, the thrill and just the guts to go up there and do it. And all the thrills, every minute something dropless moves around, you know, think the whole thing's gone. And I used to look across there and I said, gee, with all the weight of the cable, let's see, 28 7/8 diameter, and the weight from this tower now, how can the cable on it? We're still putting on steel. I said, oh, I hope them engineers are right.
The engineers were right. For 50 years, the Bay Bridge has been the workhorse of Bay Area traffic. It handles more traffic than all the other Bay Area bridges combined. When it opened, bridge officials were hoping for 5 million cars a year. At 65 cents a car and a nickel more per passenger, the bridge would pay for itself in no time. Well, last year, in 1985, the bridge handled more than 83 million vehicles. The Bay Bridge is the best investment the state of California ever made.
The bridge cost about $62 million. The rebuilding of the bridge cost $80-odd million. They spent $180 million to build the Bart tube. They paid off the new San Mateo Bridge, which is, I don't know how many million, 140 million. They built the Dumbarton Bridge with the backing of the toll collections on the Bay Bridge.
The bridge is a breathtaking monument to engineering, but it is also a memorial to the 24 men who lost their lives building it. We'll have more on that tomorrow night as we continue our series on Bridging the Bay. I'm George Watson, and that is segment 2 for tonight.